morning to all the attendees and good morning all the panelists. Good morning, everyone. I'm just going to give our guests a few minutes to join the call and settle in. So we will start at around 10 o'clock. Thank you. Hi, everyone. We're just going to give the rest of the attendees another maybe 2 or 3 minutes just to join the call, and we'll join shortly. And we'll start the session shortly. Hello, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to our webinar about ramping up your document security with blockchain. My name is Jihan Prasad, and today I'm going to be your host. And we're all very excited for today's event, and we've got a wonderful turnout as well. So, before we get down to business, I'm just going to give you guys a gentle reminder that due to the expedited nature of this event, we implore you to participate in our conversations and feel free to ask your questions anytime using the Q&A box at the bottom of the webinar page. Make sure to stick around till the end of the session in order to receive your Grab and GoPay vouchers. As we emerge out of the pandemic, the growing digital scene has left us no stranger to words like information and content management and the keyword of today's discussion, blockchain. When we hear the word blockchain, the first thing that comes to mind is cryptocurrency. But today we're going to change that. Blockchain is so much more than that, and we have taken this state of the art security system and integrated it into our document management solutions. But we'll let the experts tell you more about it. Speaking of experts, joining us today is Mr. Ali Asghar Abbas, a technologist with over 2 decades of experience in the IT industry. Blockchain and software integration is where his passion lies, and he has handled numerous blockchain projects not only in Malaysia but also globally. He has worked for the global organizations like Merrill Lynch in London and managed several projects for private organizations and government undertakings in Malaysia, Singapore, and other ASEAN countries. He is currently in association with Veridoc Global as a regional director for Southeast Asia and business development for global markets. Accompanying him is Mr. Chia Lerkai, or Ludi, our business analyst at InfoConnect of over 3 years of experience. That includes projects on banking, insurance, medical, and manufacturing that places emphasis on document digitization in a secured manner. He is currently positioned as the business development consultant at InfoConnect for Malaysia and the Philippines markets. Now, without further ado, I hand over the stage to our speakers. I'll take it away, Ludi.
Okay, thank you, Jian. Give me a moment here. Hi, morning, everyone. My name is Ludi. Do you guys can see my screen? I mean, the slide. Okay, I presume as we can see, so morning again. So if you guys have any question during the session, just let me know. You can either put in the chat box, or you want to open your mic to speak up your question. It can be achieved as well. So anytime you want to ask the question. So today's session, we will talk about ramping up your document security with blockchain that Jihan just now mentioned. And today agenda will be split into 4 parts. First is we talk about the introduction of the companies, and then we come to the challenges that faced by the organizations, and then we will talk about the overviews of the solution itself. And lastly, we will come to a Q&A session so that we can read out the question through the chat box. Okay, so let's talk about the company introduction first here. Okay, so first of all, InfoConnect has been incorporated in 1994. And in 2003, we actually launched our flagship product called DocuFlow, which is basically a document management system that focusing on digitize the documents into a repository. And then along the way from 2006 into 2017, we actually awarded several awards, as well as expanding our businesses to ASEAN countries, as well as in Hong Kong. And then in 2018, we actually incorporate a new office in Indonesia and Thailand to expand our businesses, as well as give me a moment. As well as we partners with Veridoc Global, which is basically focusing on using blockchain technology to achieve a secure document verification. So to give a brief idea on what Veridoc Global is, basically they have 7 years of experience in the markets, and they are basically based in Brisbane, Australia. So in 2021, we come up with another 2 products we call which called Cloud D. It's basically a cloud-based integration. It's a cloud collaboration tools for user to interact with each other through a system. So you can share the documents, you can route, you can even have a broadcast in the cloud so-called collaboration tools. And another thing is Inventa. So Inventa is basically an enterprise search for user to search out the document, either through the keywords, for example, like the customer name and the document number. It can also search by the content itself. So if your documents are very, very lengthy, for example, like a contract base, if 100 or 200 pages, the user is still able to search based on the content itself. And we also partner with another Korean company, which Rus. What they do is they are emphasizing on using Rus engine to help customer to lean up their business process. And lastly, in 2022, we have put our Doctor4, our flagship product, into a SaaS model. So if the customer wanted to in the on-prem or in the on-cloud, we are able to cater for that. So to give a glance, what InfoConnect does is that we are focusing on information content management. So what is ICM? ICM, to make it simple, I normally explain as three parts. First is capturing, storing, and retrieving. So in the capturing mode, we will help user to either capture from your soft copy or from your hard copy documents to capture certain values that you wanted to store into the system. For example, like the customer name and document number. So once it have been captured, it will archive into a repository so that the user are able to retrieve out the documents in the future or during the operation time. So InfoConnect and Veridoc Global, we have established in the ICM market for quite a long time. For example, for InfoConnect, we actually established in the financial services like banking. Top 8 banks in Malaysia, we actually intersect into 4 banks of it in the Malaysia market. For example, like IHB, we help them to digitize their documents for their branch operation. As you know, IHB have around 300 plus of branches around Malaysia. So we help them to digitize their documents, for example, like the application form, the supporting documents like the IC, the payslip into the repository so that they have a centralized repository to store all of the documents around Malaysia. And then in insurance, we are focusing more on digitizing their documents as well as come up with a workflow solution. So for example, like MetLife, Sompo, and Doctor4 A-Class, what we help them to do is we help them to lean up their process. For example, as you know, if you want to do a claim or you want to have create a new policy, it requires different stage of users to so-called to get approval. That's why we come up with a workflow and a DMS solution to help them to lean up the process as well as digitize the document throughout the process into a repository. And then we also intersect in government sectors and other clients, for example, like manufacturing, logistic, even like property construction companies, as well as like university and so on. And we also have hosting partners like MLab, Alibaba, Canon, Sharp, and Huawei to help us to achieve a much more competitive price in the market. And then for Veridoc Global, which is focusing on the blockchain technology, it has been established in the market that focusing on using APIs tools to target in areas like document verifications, supply chain checking, as well as e-signature and others expertise. So as you can see from here, there's intercept in banking sector like Raw Bank in Africa. They also intercept into pharmaceutical industry like Rocher which is a Swiss company. And then in terms of certification, for example, like Taekwondo Malaysia, if to certify, for example, they want to certify the consumer, they have certified tools to ensure the certification is authentic. And also like Bungkus IT, which is a so-called logistic company, they also have which is a Malaysia company as well. So for the case study, we will bring out more details during in the following slide so that you guys have a briefly idea how Veridoc Global is able to assist the customer in, to ensure that the documents or so-called the process is authentic. So let me move on to the next slide. So as you can see, these are the various of industry that we can support, from financial to logistic or even to property and construction. We are expertise on this part. And to give a glance what InfoConnect and Global's Veridoc Globals we do is that we are able to help you to capture your documents, like for example, like a hard copy or even your soft copy. And we also can lean up your business process by using workflow or robotic tools to do the repetitive works. And we can also help you to store your documents through a secure EDMS, retrieve out through using enterprise search like Inventa, and also have a collaboration cloud-based tools for you to interact with your internal staff. And last two is basically like a communication tools to send out your statement reports, and also have analytic tools to help you to analyze your data so that you can stay up more competitive in the market. So this is basically a glance of a solution framework. But because of time constraint, today's session, we will focus more on how we can digitize our document in a secure manner, as well as using a blockchain security tools to ensure that the documents that you share out to your customer, for example, like a contract base or your certificate, are able to let your customer to check the authenticity of the documents. Okay, so let's talk about let's come to the today's topics about how to ramp up the security of the blockchain. So first of all, let's talk about the challenges. So as you know, organization, they always face a lot of challenges that require to be resolved. So first of all, what is this? One of the challenges that they face is time consuming when it comes to retrieving. For example, if your company are very focused heavily based on hard copy, it will take time for you to retrieve the documents because you don't have tagging. You're required to search box by box to retrieve out the document. And even though you have so-called put your documents are in a soft copy, you have stored your document in a file explorer, but it also takes time for you to retrieve because you will store layer by layer of folder structures, which takes time for the end user to retrieve out the document. Secondly, will be versioning. As you know, everyone have their own preference when it comes to versioning their documents. For example, person A like to put 0.1, person 2 like to put 1.1, and so on. So there's no standardization, which will take times for the user to verify which one is the latest one, which one is the up-to-date documents that are required to be retrieved, and so on. And thirdly, will be lack of monitoring and security. Because for example, a hard copy, you cannot, for management level, they're unable to ensure that the hard copy documents can only view by a certain layer of personnel. Because if the paper are put on the table, anyone can still view the document accordingly. And even though you have so-called put documents in a soft copy manner and you put in the file server, you also unable to control the access or authority of the folder, meaning you cannot control this folder can only be accessed by user 1, and then this folder can only accessed by user 2, which is quite dangerous, meaning your documents or your info may be leaked out easily. And fourth will be authenticity of the document. For example, if you want you send out the contract base, or you so-called you send out the certificate to your customer, the customer unable to identify the authenticity of the document. It can be swapped, the certificate can be swapped by others, it can be edited, can be changed accordingly. So there's no verification or so-called a security layer to ensure this document is authentic. So to resolve or so-called to tackle all these issues that we just now raised, let's come to our today topics on how to ramp up your security, your document security by using blockchain, so that the customer or so-called organization can achieve anti-fraud verification. To achieve this, today topics we will focus on how we can integrate with DocuFlow, the secure EDMS, on archiving your documents, improve your retrieving process, as well as having Veridoc Globals as a blockchain tools to add another security layer to ensure that your customer able to verify the authenticity of the document by just scanning through the QR codes. So without further ado, let me pass the floor to Mr. Ali to explain what is blockchain and give you an idea how blockchains can benefit you.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ludi. Thank you, Jia. Just to set the stage for the discussion, I mean, as Jia mentioned in the beginning, that most of us liken blockchain to crypto, and we are not aware, or there's lack of awareness yet in terms of how the blockchain technology can be used for other applications. So to be able to give a little bit of background, I would like to take 5 minutes and explain that why should we use blockchain and what is the importance, and then how does it help. Okay, so to start with, in today's world, I think most systems are built on centralized networks. That means data is either stored on a private cloud server or on a client server configuration or on the user's own data centers. So this network sometimes can cause issues with trust, transparency, and so on. And these networks, to overcome these problems, is where some of the problems blockchain technology can solve. Why? Because blockchain technology uses a decentralized network. What it effectively means is that the data is not stored on a single computer, but rather it's stored on a huge network of computers. And this network not only stores data, it also constantly checks and verifies that the records that have been stored are not changed or edited. And every record that is added or is added to the block is being verified by the others. And once added, the block cannot be removed. So thus, the whole system, in a way, it creates data in blocks, and these blocks are unchangeable. They are timestamped, and then it's linked to the previous one. So what it means, it stores data like a sequence of journal, and it makes all these transactions immutable. So what is the benefit of this? That the benefit is that the total trust in data. That means nobody can debate or say, no, the data is not verified or it's a single source. So this helps to prevent fraudulent transactions. And in those organizations who are dealing with sensitive and important documents like contracts, certificates, POs, letter of credits, and any other sensitive documents which are prone to tampering, can be avoided by using a technology of this. And most importantly, because of this level of transparency and trust, it allows for the document verification without requiring any third party. Why? Because blockchain serves as a trusted point of verification. So let us see some of the other advantages in the next slide. Rudy, next slide, please. So as we discussed in the previous slide, the reliable nature of the technology is, in our opinion, a perfect fit for any document verification solution. So how does it help? In terms of control access. So what happens is that the technology helps to retain the authenticity of the document. Anybody, for example, the general public, the enforcement officers, or government, or anyone, they do not need to be trained in detecting a fake document. What they need to do is, they can simply scan a QR code using the mobile device, which we will demo in a bit, and they would be able to verify the authenticity of the data. There is no special training, no special app required to determine this. And in that case, it gives a complete control of the documents to the authorities. Increase public safety, because anyone can determine the authenticity of a document in a simple and easy manner. Imposters cannot cheat people, fraudulent transactions can be avoided, and businesses cannot cheat. Also, businesses cannot cheat customers by selling unlicensed products or services. So for example, when we talk about some kind of safety certifications, audit reports, a lot of tampering is possible. So with this kind of a thing, it prevents that. Increase in trust. Today's consumers are getting more and more aware, and they demand transparency. So this would be a perfect fit for those kind of a process, because the entire verification process shows a complete transparency in the processes. And because this solution is designed to validate the documents using a distributed ledger, it provides this level of trust and transparency. Easy verification, because the solution is, again, because of the distributed ledger of the technology, which is at the forefront of the security, it allows to have multiple level of verifications using a simple QR code. again, during our user interaction section, we will explain how the validation is done. Over and above that, it also adds the organization credibility. When we say organization credibility, in the way that when, especially if a organization is dealing in a lot of sensitive documents or safety certifications or contracts, when a document that is issued from the organization can be validated in a transparent way, it builds public trust. And this in return also beefs up the confidence of the customers in the company, and in my opinion translates to revenue. The other important point, reduction is cost. Today, everybody is cost conscious, and especially for those organizations who need to involve in a lot of verification, they spend a lot of time and effort doing that. Some organizations even have a dedicated team just to verify their document, an email support or a phone support, or a department does verification. With blockchain in place, because it is a trusted point of verification, this can be, I would say, almost removed, and it can translate into immense cost saving. Last but not the least, our solution is API driven. We do not require to change anything in the existing system. Our APIs are robust enough that can be integrated to any existing system. And most importantly, the technical team does not need to learn how to use blockchain, or they not need to be familiar with the blockchain complexities and so on. All they need to know is just to use our APIs. Again, through our case studies later, we will demonstrate how some organizations have adopted our solution in less than 3 weeks. Okay. So with this background and some advantages, I would like to hand the floor back to Ludi, who will give an explanation on an overview of how the EDMS solution comes back, and then later we go into the more details of the blockchain security. Ludi, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ali. Thank you. Thanks for the explanation. So like Mr. Ali mentioned, so now we will talk about the overviews of the features that EDMS have as a secure EDMS. So first thing first, like I mentioned just now, that we are focusing on 3 parts: capturing, storing, and retrieving. So in terms of capturing, we are able to so-called tag certain metadata, or so-called unique index field, like your customer name, your document number, and so on, into the documents, so that in future you are able to search out the documents through multiples of keywords. And then we also have OCR tools, which is auto so-called metadata capturing tools to help the user to capture the data, so that the user no need to manually key in the info accordingly. So once the capturing has been done, it will push to the storing, or so-called the archiving. So when the documents have been stored into a secure EDMS, first thing first, that the soft copy will not be corrupted easily like the file server setup. And secondly is the documents are encrypted by using 256-bit method, which means that even though the user, or so-called the IT staff, they know where the image has been stored in a particular location, they are unable to retrieve out the image, because the so-called the files will be so-called special character. They are unable to see out the image accordingly. And this is the internal, right? Internal, we are able to ensure that the documents are in a secure manner and will not be disrupted in many cases. But what if come to external parties? For example, you require to share out your documents to your customers, or like, for example, like a certificate or a contract base. How can we ensure the authenticity of the documents, right? So that's why blockchain come into place. Like Mr. Ali just mentioned, when the so-called the data, or so-called the metadata, or the unique number that's stored in the blockchain cannot be changed, cannot be edited, or so-called cannot be disrupted. So when the metadata and the unique number, or so-called the hash value, has been stored in the blockchain, the user can verify through the blockchain by scanning out the QR code. So from there, no one can edit the value of the fields, or so-called the value, and it can act as authorities to ensure that these documents is genuine. So once the documents and so-called the values have been stored into the blockchain, it's come to retrieving process. So in terms of retrieving, we have search function for user to search out the document based on the keyword, and we also have versioning control features, a standardized versioning control to ensure that the version control in the organization is standardized. And lastly, it will be a simple workflow. So in case you guys require to route or so-called to get approval within your organization, we have a simple workflow to cater for that. So basically, these are the overview of the features of a secure EDMS. So to give you a scenario how blockchains can be assist you during for the authentication purposes, we will come up with a different scenario so that you guys can have an idea how this solution works. So for example, like when you come to scanning your documents, you require to prepare your documents, remove the pin, and so-called to classify how's the which the document types accordingly, right? So once you already prepare your document, it will go through a scanning process. So once you're scanning, it will move into our module called document scan, which is basically a scan module for user to do the indexing. So once you're scanning, the user can either use the OCR tools or use a barcode figures to so-called capture the value automatically. And once it does, it have a verification, so-called a checker maker process for user to verify the scan image as well as the index or so-called the metadata has been captured. And lastly will be export. So once this document have been exported, it will archive into a secure repository so that in future users are able to retrieve the document. And the add-on will be, we will attach the QR code into the document as well as store a certain value, for example, like your customer name, your document number, and so on into the blockchain itself, as well as the hash value or so-called the unit number into the blockchain system. So by doing so, the user are able to, for example, like external party, they are able to validate the QR code or the authenticity of the document by just scanning out the QR code. So to give you an idea on it, we actually come up with a demo video so that you can understand. Give me a moment here.
Hi everyone, today I'm gonna demo on how the system actually work. There are many types of input document or source that can be stored into EDMS. The input can be from the MFP, from the production scanner, from third-party application like workflow, or from the email attachment. This document can be indexed and stored into EDMS. The system shall then adding the QR code into the document for verification. Upon the future search or retrieval, the document can be validated through the scanning of the QR code. In this demo, I'm going to show on how we can store the document from the DocuFlow scan module. Let me start by adding a sample document through the scan module. You can create the batch manually, or you can automate the batch creation by using a cover page. You can also able to connect directly to your scanner. For this demo, let me add a file, index, and store it into the secured EDMS. Once the file added, you can first check on the quality of the scan document. In this QC process, you can make sure the scanned document is correct, the quality is acceptable, and the arrangement is correct. Next, you can index the document. There are several types of indexing method, like manual indexing by typing into the fields, auto-indexing using the OCR or barcode reader. Let me index this automatically using the OCR function. Once I click on the Read OCR button, the field will be automatically captured and populated into the input field based on the predefined configuration. Next, you can able to verify the captured data using the Verify function. This process enables the user to review and do correction if required. The last step is to export the indexed document into EDMS. The document will then attach with the QR code, encrypted and stored into the EDMS system. To demonstrate on how the document can easily be searched and retrieved in future, we can log in into the web portal and perform search using the indexed metadata. You can key in the keyword or index in the search field. For this demo, I'm going to search the document using the payment voucher number. Click on the document to view. The stored document and the metadata will be displayed. To check on the document authenticity, user can able to scan the QR code. This verification process can be similar during the workflow process, approval or validation by the customer through the output channel like email. Let me scan the QR code using my mobile QR scanner. You can also scan the QR to see how the verification and validation can be done. Once the QR scanned, it will navigate to the Veridoc Global Verification Engine web portal and display the file information. The data transaction ID, the hash value and related information will be displayed to the user for reference. That's the end of the demo. Thank you for your time. If you have any question or clarification, feel free to contact us.
Okay, so that's the video. So that's how it's able to so-called capture, excuse me. So this is how the system able to so-called to attach the QR code into the documents so that the user are able to capture the QR code to verify the value through the blockchain system itself. So
Hi everyone, today
another way of doing that is through file sharing. So for example, like you don't want to to so-called blockchain all of the documents that you have towards your organization. You just want to maybe blockchain certain documents like your contract, your certificate, and so on. So how can you do is that when you, for example, you log into the EDMS portal, and then you select the documents and you click share, it will eventually either can share by link or by share through email. So once you generate so-called to copy the link or so-called to send out through email, the system will attach, give me a moment here. The system will attach the QR code, just like just now how it do for the scanning process. It will attach the QR code into the PDF so that users are able to scan the PDF and at the same time verify either the authenticity of the documents. So to give you some interaction for the how the system works, how the process works, how to capture the QR code and come up with the process, Mr. Ali will conduct an interaction experience to let you guys have a feel and touch on how the authentication process works. So feel free to capture the QR codes at the screen. And once you have captured the QR codes, I will pass the screen to Mr. Ali so that he can show you, after you capture the QR code, how can you identify the authenticity of the documents by throwing the hash value and so on. So feel free to capture the QR code from the screen. So once you guys have captured the QR codes from the screen, I will maybe wait for another 10 to 30 seconds. Then I will pass the screen to Mr. Ali to demonstrate after the aftermath of capturing the QR codes. So I will pass the screen to Mr. Ali. Yeah, give me a moment.
So hi everyone again. So hope everyone has managed to scan the QR code and be able to come on this screen. So I will explain to you the different levels of verification that happens at the point when a QR code is scanned. So once the QR code is scanned, this is the level 1 verification, which we call it the blockchain verification, which is doing authenticating the document between the source and the blockchain directly. Now, this is one of the most secure level of verification available today, as even if any tampering of the document is done by the internal system administrator, it will be detected. Now, how it is done, it's basically a little bit technical, but I will just touch on the base that at the point when the document is secured, it creates a unique hash value, or in a simple layman language, it's a fingerprint of a document and secures the document on the blockchain. So at the point when the QR code is scanned, it does an automated blockchain verification, which is developed using our patented technology to compare the document hash with the document source and the blockchain. So if any tampering is detected of the document, even at the source, this level of validation will immediately fail. If the validation success is successful, it will go to this screen, and when you hit on the continue button, it will present the actual document. So this is the next level of validation, which we call it as visual inspection. Over here, the original document that the user has got in their hand, or a soft copy, they'll be able to compare it over here, and the pertinent document details, for example, the date, the validity, and so on, will be able to see and compare over here. If there is an event on the document, the event can also be captured. For example, license renewals, extensions, and so on can also be captured over here. Now, the next level of verification, which we call it as the visual or manual verification on the blockchain. So how does that happen? There's a button over here called Verify on Ether blockchain. So when we go on to the blockchain, it opens up the document record, or I would say the blockchain record, in a blockchain explorer. So this is also referred to as public blockchain explorer or Web 3.0. What is this? It basically allows anyone on the internet to check the status of a blockchain transaction. So this is, I would say, one of the founding pillars today, the blockchain technology for even metaverse or public transaction and verification and so on. So just to coming back to this, if we look at the blockchain transaction over here, we are seeing that there is a document hash value over here, some details of the document that are stored over here. And this is the information that you can compare with the information over here for the transaction hash, the validity, the date, and the validity. So this is how we compare that the information that is stored on the blockchain is consistent with the information that is being presented to the users. Okay. And not only this, in addition to this, there can be additional access control. For example, login password, email or mobile OTP, etc., can also be introduced. So for example, if somebody is looking at a solution where when the QR code is scanned, only the people with the authorized users can view the document. That can also be incorporated into our API-based solution. So I think I know some of this may sound very complicated, but I guess I've tried to simplify it. And as we can see, for an end user perspective, the verification is extremely simple and it's extremely easy for anyone to use it. Okay. So with this, I would like to hand it back to Ludi, and he will take you through the next few slides before I come back and talk about a few case studies.
Mr. Ali, before we stop this, before passing it to me, I think there's a participant. I think Isha is asking to raise a hand. Maybe I allow him to talk. Maybe he got some question to
Sure.
bring around. Hi, Isha. You can raise your question.
Or maybe we can take the question at the end of the session.
Okay, sure. No
That'll
worries.
be a better thing, I think, because yeah, so we can do that as well.
Okay, okay, no worries. Okay. And let me share back my screen. Okay. So thanks, Mr. Ali, for the interaction. Okay. So after talking about how we can so-called validate the documents through the QR code and link it to the blockchain itself, let's talk about how to retrieve the documents. So first, basically, when it comes to retrieving, there's several ways of doing it. First is either through a simple search by, like just now from the demo video, the user can just search out the keyword from through the search bar, and we can also achieve like a full content. If you have a content search, you require to achieve a content search. If it's a PDF readable documents or so-called a readable format of images, sorry, documents, you're able to achieve that as well. And then we also have advanced search. For example, if you want to search multiple fields at the same time to so-called to help you to filter up the documents, it can achieve accordingly. And lastly will be mobile search as well to search the document through the mobile apps. Okay, so to give you some example, I think this is been shown through the demo videos, is that you can search the documents by searching out the keywords and then click on it, and the user are able to so-called capture the QR code, which is able to link to the web portal that just now Mr. Ali mentioned for the verification on the authenticity of the documents. And secondly will be through the mobile apps. So for example, if you select the documents through the mobile file, and you are able to so-called capture the QR codes, either using tools like Google's to so-called to scan out the QR codes, and it will also help you to direct it to the blockchain validation services. So other than that, how can blockchain still benefit? I think that's the most important question. Other than through the scanning scenarios or so-called through sharing your documents to your client, is there other ways that the blockchain can help you in another way? So what we can come up with that is through verification process. So for example, like your statement, your contract base that you require to send out to your customer, right? So in a old-fashioned way, the user required to print out the copies in hard copies, and then after that, then you require to store the documents in the on-prem premises, and after that, they require to so-called use a so-called physical stamp services to send out their statement or so-called their contract to their customer accordingly. As you can see from here, from the first stage, from printing and then up to storing the documents or so-called the management parts, it requires a lot of costs like labor costs, physical costs, retrieving timing on the documents, as well as like climate risk, for example, like flood or fire. And then you also require a stamp services to help you to send out your statement report to your customer, which is basically very tedious and high cost. And it cannot even achieve a good verification process for the customer, because like I say, if it's a physical documents, it can be changed, it can be edited by others easily, which the customer are unable to identify the authenticity of the documents. But having blockchains and the solution that we propose is that it able to digitize your statement report through e-statement. So meaning when your core system have been processed, the channel and provided the so-called the raw data, the channel communication able to massage the data and export the data into a much more readable format. For example, we can design the statement with a logo, standardize the header, standardize the details as well as the footer and so on. So what is done, it will output as a PDF and and attach a QR code, which is the blockchain, and send out the e-statement or so-called the contract documents to the customer accordingly. So by doing so, it helps you to reduce the cost, because as you can see from here, it not require any cost to so-called send out the statement every time you do the action. And secondly is we can also integrate with the secure EDMS to store the documents into a secure way, so that the user are able to so-called retrieve the document through a digital format. And we also have a separate APIs to integrate with your third-party system if required. For example, after we capture the values, how if you want to push the information to your, maybe for your CRM or to your another third-party system, it can be achieved as well. So by doing so, we already target 3 things. First is authentication. We are able to have blockchains to help your customer to authenticate the genuinity of the documents. And secondly will be the cost. So since you already eliminate the storage, or so-called you reduce the dependency of storing your documents in the warehouse, and you not require any very minimum labor to help you to maintain the documents, as well as the stamp duty. You don't need the stamp to help you to send out your statement report to your customer. And lastly will be efficient. As you can see from here, it's not require any human interfere to send out the statement, or so-called to store or archive your document into the secure EDMS. So this is basically the security and compliance that DocuFlow as a secure EDMS can achieve. First thing first is we are using encryption method like AES 256-bit to encrypt your documents. And then we also support data encryption via your Microsoft SQL as well as your TDE. And secondly will be access control. We are able to ensure that certain user group can only access to certain documents, or even to their functionality. For example, certain user group can only view the document. And then maybe the manager level, they are able to so-called edit or even delete the document accordingly. And then we can also cater by the folder access. For example, if you have multiple departments require multiple folder, we can control the user group can only access to, for example, HR, can only access to HR document and so on. And then in terms of compliance wise, we have audit trail to capture every function, every action that had been done towards the system. For example, the user have been download or so-called edit or share the documents to the clients, able to track down in a report, so that in future, if is there any audit required, you can straight away just search it out the requirement, and it will retrieve out the audit, or so-called the record accordingly. And lastly will be validation and version control. As I mentioned, by using a blockchain technology, we are able to help the customer to validate the document by just scanning out the QR code. And secondly will be the versioning. We can set out the versioning to ensure that the version control can be standardized, and it will not have dispute, or so-called take time for the user, or so-called the end user to find out which is the latest document. So to sum up for this today presentation, having a secure EDMS and blockchain technology can help you to ensure you are able to control the access, ensure certain user can only access to certain documents, as well as improve the security to ensure that there's no fraud on your data, so that the user, your customer, are able to increase to have a trust between your organization, and so-called to increase the credibility of your company. And secondly will be the customer satisfaction. As I mentioned just now, it able to increase your trust, because the user are able to verify the authenticity of the documents, as well as availability, which means to link back to easy verification. User can just scan the QR code to verify the documents, and this solution is able to add another layer of verification to ensure the documents is genuine. And lastly, and thirdly will be the reduction in cost, because since you store the values into the blockchain itself, it need not require a so-called third-party authority, like a certificate authority to help you to make sure that the document is authentic. So by doing so, you are able to reduce the cost when come to implement this solution. And lastly, like Mr. Ali mentioned, we have separate API to communicate with your existing system, like your core system, your ERC, or so-called your legacy system accordingly. So to further ado, I will pass back to Mr. Ali to give you a more deep idea on how blockchain technology able to ensure your documents in a much more secure way, as well as able to ensure the authenticity of the document through the case study accordingly. Pass to you, Mr. Ali.
Yeah. So in terms of the successful implementations, I'd like to cover a couple of case studies. Now, I know in the interest of time, I'll try to be brief, but I'll see what I can cover. So the first case study is about an association, Malaysian Taekwondo Federation, using our document security solution to secure the certificates. So they came to us with a problem statement where the HQ was pre-printing the physical certificates, and they were manually distributing the certificates to the regional and state offices, and they had no proper tracking mechanism in place. Because of this, it resulted in fake certificates, and they were losing revenue and credibility. So the way, when they came to us, we modernized the MTF certificate issuance process using our patented technology by securing the certificate digitally on the blockchain. And at the same time, we also offered their customers, in this case, the parents and students, a hassle-free and instant QR code-based verification for their certificate. So how did we do it? We basically incorporated the, or rather we pre-generated the QR code for them, and they integrated the QR code with their existing printing and certificate design process. There was no change to the existing process, or they did not even have to buy any new hardware or software. And this whole thing was done in less than 2 weeks. So it provided them with a cost-effective and a secure solution that made verification simple for everyone. It was greatly appreciated by the Sports Association of Malaysia, and as a testament to our solution, it was also featured in the national news in Malaysia. Ludi, next slide. Now, this is a case study regarding how our technology could be applied to transparently track the journey of a product. So Bungusit, as a background, is a last mile delivery service company, and they are one of the largest company in Malaysia. The reason why they opted for our solution is because we had an interoperable APIs. That means we could integrate their API, our APIs, into their existing systems. Their problem was that they are delivering high value items on behalf of their merchants. And because of this, the delivery of the items, the acceptance, or I would say rather the journey of the item needs to be tracked in a transparent way. So the way the system was designed is that once they delivered the item, a QR code was automatically generated on the rider's mobile phone. The customer scanned the QR code as an acknowledgement of the delivery. Now, at the point when the scanning happened, it automatically captured the entire journey details and created an order receipt and put on the blockchain. Now, this order delivery receipt can be used by anyone to transparently track the journey of the delivery, as well as if there are any disputes or anything coming, it can be used to say that no, the delivery was done on this time at this date, and so on. So this is how it can be applied in a tracking industry. Ludi, next slide. In terms of our third case study, Dextium, this client reached out to us because they wanted to prevent unauthorized tampering of their results. They are an environmental recycling company, and they are issuing environmental recycling results to their customers. And these results are very critical, especially in terms of health and safety regulation. So they wanted a secure technology where it prevents manipulation of their documents. In this case, they were given a platform where they could upload the document, they could place a QR code on their document, and they could share it with their customers. So instead of sending manual reports, printing the reports, posting to them, it's like how Ludi also explained, a lot of people are now adopting towards digital. So they use our platform to generate the documents and send it via email to their customers. So the customers are also very satisfied and happy that they do not have to wait for paper documents or paper results. They get the results via email, which can also be controlled, access who can view the results, who cannot view the results. And most importantly, these results could also be validated on the blockchain. So these are some of the case studies that we have implemented, and probably we can share with you some links and some more details if required after this session as well. Ludi, next slide. Last but not the least, we have purpose-based solutions that are built across multiple industries and solving different problems ranging from document verification, HR, contact tracing, e-signature, and so on. Now, I will not go into all the products, but I would like to talk specially about one of our major products, which is Veridoc Sign, which provides a comprehensive e-signature solution that improves overall efficiency, and it removes, the long waiting times to print, scan, and send the documents again. It's very applicable today because everybody is looking for some kind of an e-signature solution today to sign the documents. Our documents that are signed are all being captured on blockchain, and they can be independently validated against the original document. Today, most other electronically signed documents, they have some kind of an IP address or a timestamp which cannot be validated. So this makes our offering very unique, and I would say it's a very special product in terms of the e-signature industry, and it can be applied across any industry, in private sector, small firms, government firms, legal firms, and so on. Okay, so with that, I think I would like to hand over back to Ludi to conclude the session.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. So for today, give me a moment. So for today, we are talking about the promotion plan. If you're interested, these are basically our promotion plan for today's session. So as you can see from here, our charges is 2,400 per yearly, also called per annum, which can cater for 5 concurrent users. And then we have 50 gigs of storage. So if you calculate by per documents, it's around 1 MB. It can store up to 50,000 of documents, as well as having to provide you 1,000 secure documents, meaning you can QR, blockchain your 1,000 of documents in this package. And another package we have is 4,800 per use. It's also same thing, 5 users. Just that the difference that we can have 15,000 documents. The difference is that the secure documents wise, it can be up to 5,000 documents for you to blockchain to ensure that the documents are authentic. But for today's session, we actually come up with a promotions is that it requires only 2,400 ringgit in order to achieve the 4,800 package. And instead of 5 users, you can the customer are able to get 10 concurrent user along the way for 1 year. So basically, this is our promotion plan. If you are interested, just let us know, or you can also scan this QR code as a registration form. So once you scan in into the QR code, it will basically is a Google form for you to fill out the information, and then our sales team will basically follow up with you accordingly. So to further ado, this is also our contact. If you want to have a further understanding on what InfoConnect does or other solution that along the way you are interested, you can also email to our sales email, sales@email.com.my, or even go to our website portal to drop down a form. We will assist, our team will basically assist you accordingly. So now we'll go to the Q&A session, and during the Q&A session, if you have want to register, you can also scan this QR code. And if it will be great if you can scan the feedback QR code as well to let us know the feedback, how is the webinar, what need to be touched up, and so-called what need to be enhanced. So now let's move on to the Q&A session.
Hi, Ludi. This is Jihan. I just wanted to mention to those who want to be eligible to win the vouchers, the Grab and the GoPay vouchers, you will have to fill up the form, the form that you can reach through scanning the feedback QR code. And additionally, Ludi, we have one question in the Q&A box. Okay, so let me read the question out to you.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Is it possible to hide or remove some information, such as credit card number, from the original document for some users? Do these changes also change the hash key? How do we verify the document authentication?
Okay, thank you, Budi, right? Ali, do you mind to answer this question?
Yes, I will take the question.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are 2 levels of information that is stored. Okay, one is at the DMS system and one is at the blockchain. So in the DMS system, I believe you are okay to store the credit card number because that is the system that is holding the information. But when it talks about scanning, the information can be hidden from the users. Now, if you want to hide some information from the user, it can also be done, but there needs to be some customization to be done. So the answer to that is yes, it can be done. Now, in terms of the hash key, the hash key is created based on the source document. So if the source document has got the credit card number, it will include the credit card number in the hash key. But you do not have to worry about the hash key because the hash key is only a one-way encryption. So the user will never be able to take the hash key and decrypt it back and get the credit card information. So at the point of document authentication or the document verification, it will go back to the source document on the server, generate the hash key again and compare. So it should not be a problem for you to be able to achieve what you are asking for. So hope that answers your question. If not, please let me know.
Is there any further question? You can either open your mic or just leave a question in the Q&A session, and then me and Ali will try to answer as much as possible. Right, but maybe to add on what Mr. Ali mentioned, for example, like you mentioned, like credit cards number is very sensitive, right? You can actually configure not to so-called store this value in the so-called into the blockchain. So maybe you can store certain values that is unique into, for example, like the customer name or maybe the unique number that you have, and so that the user are able to, when he capture the QR code, then he can check the metadata as well through the blockchain. For example, like the customer name, the hash value, and so on. So from there, you will add a so-called a second layer for the user to identify the authenticity of the documents.
Or maybe just to add to what Ludi mentioned, we can put the last 4 digits of the credit card number and the first 4 characters of the name, so that we know we keep the information, the private information minimum in the public space.
Yeah. Yes, correct. Thank you, Ali, for the add-on. Is there any question, or feel free to open your mics to let us know? But at the meantime, if you have any feedback or so-called interested on the products, you can either scan through the registration QR code to register on the so that our sales team are able to cater for you. And at the same time, if you have any feedback, just can scan through the feedback QR code to let us know what are your feedback accordingly. So by the way, Mr. Budi, do us answering your question, or do you want to like maybe have a more insight? Maybe you can either through the mic to let us know, and or you can just type in the Q&A session to let us know is our answer you correctly, or maybe you want to know more insight on it. Okay, sure. Thank you. So is there any more question? Okay, there's a question from Mr. Ju Ling Hui. Miss Ju Ling Hui. Hi, when I scan for feedback, must log in to Gmail, so it's not company email. Is it okay? I think you need to use the Gmail because it's using the Google form. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Jian.
Yeah, you're right. It doesn't matter which email you use to register to answer the Google form actually.
Oh, I see. Meaning any email can access, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any other question? Yes, yeah, you can. Oh, I see. Then you can use your Gmail then. No worries. We will follow up accordingly. Yeah. So is there any other question that you guys want to like maybe drill down what you want to know? Like for example, how safety is to store in the data into the blockchain. How can we ensure that for example, you want to know like how the customer can ensure that when they scan the QR code, the documents are genuine, is based on the documents that have been sent through from the organizations, and how organization can so-called maintain the documents either centralized or in decentralized mode. Just feel free to ask us a question. Is there any?
You brought up a good point, Ludi. So just for the users that you understand correctly, also, we do not store any document or a full document in the blockchain. So what we are storing is just, as I mentioned earlier, a document fingerprint or a unique hash value. So even though it is stored in a public domain, that information is useless without the source document. So in terms of a document security, safety, or exposing your documents to public data, you should not be worried, because we are only using blockchain as a means to verify the document based on the source document that is sitting on your server or on the DMS system. So that is a very important point that everybody here needs to understand, that we are not storing your documents on the blockchain. It's just a verification mechanism using a patented technology which uses the document hash value or the fingerprint to compare. So that's about it. So yeah.
Thank you, Ali, for your explanation. If there's not any further question, then I will pass back to Jihan to end the session. Pass to
All
you,
right,
Jihan.
thank you, Ludi, and thank you so much, Ali, for answering the questions. Thank you for asking questions. Maybe we'll leave it for another 1 or 2 minutes just to see if any of the last standing attendees want to ask any last minute questions. If there are any further questions at the end of 2 minutes, then we can end our session today. Once again, a thank you to everyone. Thank you to Ludi, and thank you to Ali for enlightening us today with this information, with this idea of blockchain in our document management systems, and this newfound idea of security that 5 years ago we wouldn't have even imagined, but today this is where we are. Thank you so much, and thank you to all the attendees and all the panelists, and for everyone else for the support. Yeah, so we'll leave the Q&A page here for another minute just to see if anybody has any last minute questions, and beyond that, then we can end our session today. Have a good day, everyone, and thank you.
Sure. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. Thank you for your time.
Just before we end our session today, to those who haven't yet scanned our feedback forms, those who haven't filled up the feedback forms, please take a minute or two to scan the code and answer the feedback form so that we understand what we are doing right and what we are doing wrong, as well as for you to get your Grab and GoPay vouchers. So yeah, make sure to fill up the feedback form. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Okay, so it appears that we no longer have any more questions. We would like to thank everyone, and we're going to end our session today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.